Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything, wherever you are at this particular moment on the surface of the earth. This is the World Cafe Live Show. We're back again. I told you about something, and I'm coming to it again. But how are you? What are you up to? I'm good. Yes, other part of the world, it's been raining for some days now, and when it rains here in Africa, Nigeria to be precise, the temperature drops a little bit, and we catch some cold here and there, but we're good. I know you're good. Yes, I told you something the other time about energy. We're going to be doing the show differently today. You're seeing somebody's face already, which is okay. There's a lot going you know, on the earth today. But one particular thing that catches everybody's attention is energy. Yes, energy. And Adrian was here some time ago. You're seeing the name already. And we talked about energy. And I decided to say, oh, come on, guys. Let's give this special session to energy on the show where Adrian Mason, that's his name, is an energy expert. Don't worry, you're seeing his face. I'm going to bring him on very soon to say one or two things, and we go into the show. I mean, he's going to come on every now and then within this period. We'll be talking about energy, aka oil and gas as we know it. But now the word oil and gas is like fading to the background and energy.
Pleasure to be back. Pleasure to be back.
Wonderful. When I called on Adrian for us to do this, it was like, wow, this is super. Why not? Hit the road running. He's introduced himself before on the show, but I'm going to allow him do that again because honestly, we can't have enough of that introduction. Then after that, we hit the road running. Adrian, you have the floor.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Look, I've been working in the oil and gas sector all of my professional career, 20 plus years, believe it or not. Believe it or
Whoa,
not. I
whoa.
started off as a lowly lab worker at a company called Shell, who I know that you know very well
Yeah.
yourself, and they've been in the news this week as
Mm-hmm.
well, announcing record Q1 profits. It's an incredible
Whoa.
time for the oil and gas sector,
Mm,
and so these days I like to look at the markets. I work in global analysis of the energy sector.
mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right, Amakri. We don't just talk about oil and gas these days. We talk about energy and power generation through all different sources: renewable, low carbon,
Mm-hmm.
hydrocarbon
Mm-hmm.
sources.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in the mix. And you know as well as I do, the world is going crazy at the
Mm,
moment,
mm.
and energy forms a key part of that. So yeah, it'll be my pleasure to discuss some of those
Beautiful.
topics today.
Now you called a name, and I think we're going to start from there. The Q1, just said something about record breaking. Would I say what do you call that now? Rate or profits or whatever. Cheryl, you say they've been in the news. So why? Tell us what's so special about the Q1 reports and all that.
Well, as you may have been aware, over the past couple of years, there's been a very rocky road for the oil and gas sector, but commodity markets and business in general. COVID had a big impact
Yeah,
on the sector, on the energy
yeah,
sector.
yeah.
However, for the past 3 to 6 months in particular, we've seen massive increases in oil pricing, in gas pricing, gas at record levels, Brent $117 a barrel. These are huge numbers. To put
Mm-hmm,
that into context, during the peak COVID, a barrel of oil was worth around $30. And
mm-hmm.
this has caused all of the major oil companies that are around the globe to announce huge profits. Huge profits.
So
Shell was in the news for just over $9 billion in
you don't
Q1
say.
profit.
Whoa,
Huge.
whoa, huge. So what's the result, as in what's leading to this huge results, as in terms of profit now? What do you think is the cause of it?
Well, it's a number of factors, and it would be easy just to point the finger at the fact that there is conflict in Europe, Russia being part of that, being diverting its supply in Europe. That's causing tension to the markets and people worried about
Mm,
supply. So that's a
yeah,
very obvious thing that's been happening in the news. But there's definitely more to what's been going on. There has been significant underfunding for infrastructure. There's been
mhm,
significant underfunding for development and exploration in the
yeah,
market. And this has
okay,
been going on since pre-COVID times. And so that
okay,
has led to a place where we are now,
mhm,
where supply is being squeezed. Everybody is demanding more. Demand is going up,
yeah.
and we've seen the price of oil rocketing. And it feels like, Macri, this is going to be a state that's going to carry on for the foreseeable future. So this is going to be interesting times in the energy market for sure.
Now, do you think having this, should I say, windfall scenario that we have now, a lot of surplus for, in terms of profit for investors, do you think is healthy for the market?
It's a really good question. So it depends how you look at it. For the shareholders, it's definitely healthy because they're getting great dividends. So good for
Mhm,
them. However, what it's not good for is when we're seeing energy prices going up for consumers across the globe.
mhm.
We've seen huge increases year on year, 80% here, almost in the UK. It's ridiculous increases that are unsustainable for the consumers. So there is a large public backlash against not just the oil and gas companies, but also the energy firms in general, that they
Mhm.
should be seeing such large profits where the consumer appears to be suffering. And
So,
so that has been a topic of key debate of late.
so how do we go about this? Do you think introducing a form of, should I say, taxes is going to help in terms of palliatives or something, giving back uh, to the general public in cushioning one or two things? What do you think?
Again, it's a really good question because it's a double-edged sword. In
Hmm.
the short term, consumers want to see a windfall tax, and I believe that the Chancellor in the UK is implementing that, um, and getting back around £6 billion into the tax coffers. And he's going to
Whoa.
take that money directly from the likes of BP and Shell and those guys that are working in the North Sea. Now that's
Mhm.
going to help the consumer in the short term. But in the long term, that's £6 billion that's been taken out of possible investment into, for instance, getting more resource in the
Mhm.
hydrocarbon sector, but more
Yeah.
importantly as well for investment in the renewables sector. And so as we try to decarbonize the
Mhm.
energy sector,
Okay.
huge amounts of investment will be required in new and renewable technology. And the argument, which I sympathize with to some extent from the oil and gas companies, is that the money that you take away because of this unforeseen circumstance, this windfall tax, that's
Mhm.
taking money directly out what can be invested for future renewable and supply safety for the future. So I think it's a double-edged sword for this one.
No, so if I hear you correctly, from what you're saying is, okay, we're taking this amount of money to create a kind of buffer or cushioning. So for now, in the short term, like you said, so the long term is like what we're taking now is going to boomerang and affect us. But come to think of it, if we plow this into the renewables that we are all, I mean, it's been talked about, do you think that will help the long run? That is.
It certainly needs to help, and it will help in the long run, because all of the predictions and all of the analysis show that energy demand will simply increase
Okay.
as population increase and parts of the world become more developed. It's natural. But the most important thing is that we are not looking to increase the use of hydrocarbon or coal or fossil based fuels. And so the energy gap that
Okay.
will exist needs to be filled by renewable or sustainable energies. And that will be a mix of different technologies for sure, but
Yep.
each and every one of those will require massive investments to fill that
Now,
gap.
yeah. Now talking about the renewables, one word that has been, should I say, out there in the industry in that space is the carbon capture technology and energy transition. And when you talk about that, hydrogen occupies this, would I say, prime position. Why are we all talking about this hydrogen? What's the importance?
Well, everybody is going crazy about hydrogen. It's the key topic of discussion
Mm,
because fundamentally, when you think about it, it's the green dream, it's the perfect fuel. Because as you burn hydrogen gas, all that is emitted is water. It turns to water vapor. So
okay.
it's a zero emission fuel.
Hmm.
Now, the big debate is about how we actually create hydrogen. Because, of
Okay.
course, to create this gas, to create this fuel, you need to put energy within that. Now, to be clear, at the moment, we make hydrogen that's used from methane, from natural gas. Okay,
Hmm.
so the
Yep.
oil companies are quite happy about that because increasing hydrogen demand will mean increasing of their gas supply. So that's good for those guys.
Yep.
However, what the real debate is about how we can create hydrogen from renewable energy and create what we call green hydrogen. Okay. So what's
Okay.
happening is now that people are looking to use renewables such as offshore wind or
Hmm.
solar power to
Okay.
use electrolyzers to go through to create hydrogen, which is totally emission free. Now, in the middle of that are all of the companies that are looking at carbon capture to
Hmm.
create what we call blue hydrogen, which is a kind of middle ground to decarbonize the current processes. So the reason people are so excited is because it can be a totally green fuel, but it's going to be working with all of the current infrastructure and the oil and gas companies as we speak.
All right. From what you're explaining now, what is the place of the carbon capture project, as in that technology? Is it going to accelerate the process or deter it in a way?
Oh, absolutely. It again causes a lot of debate with the Green Brigade about carbon capture. So essentially, what we're saying is we can use carbon capture, which is essentially taking carbon dioxide out of the industrial process and
Hmm.
storing that away in normally underground reservoirs, but using natural gas and carbon capture to create a low carbon hydrogen fuel. Okay,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
definitely part of the transition towards what we're thinking about as using as a hydrogen economy.
Hmm.
Now, I personally think that it will play a crucial role in developing more infrastructure, more product, and allowing hydrogen fuel to become more prevalent and a natural part of the energy mix. So definitely, I see that happening.
Okay. Now, in trying to reduce the carbon footprint, there are these two words we hear often in the news, as in decarbonization and defossilization. I want us to look at it as in these two, would I say, words or processes,
Mhm.
how which is affecting the economy and our geography adversely, and which should we pay attention to?
It's a good question. It's a good question because fossil fuels are really the backbone, the base of our energy and power mix. Okay, so
Yeah.
for power stations and ensuring a continuous supply of energy, we need a base load of energy, and typically that's derived from thermal sources, coal, gas, oil, etc., etc. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the real debate is, should we think about slowly backing down and backing out that baseload of hydrocarbon or fossil fuels, or should we think about looking at decarbonizing the process, i.e.,
Mm.
putting in carbon capture techniques or utilizing digitalization, using renewable energy sources along the way um, to help reduce that CO2 burden?
Mm.
Um, Personally, I think we need to be realistic and realize that fossil fuels are going to be a key part of the energy mix moving
Okay.
forward, and particularly for um, countries that are developing, that don't necessarily have full capacity or access to electricity as well,
Okay.
and therefore developing resources, stranded resources in countries like Nigeria or Mozambique that are yet to
Mm.
come online. That's a
Yeah.
really important part of the future energy mix.
Wonderful. Now, each time we talk about energy globally, there's this attention that shifts to Africa, and in time past, like the discovery of oil in Nigeria, Ghana, and the likes, we've been having investors come in and develop and what have you. Now, given the current situation, where is Africa in all of this? It, in terms of investment, where is Africa?
It's a good question with regards to investment, because let's be absolutely clear: there is no shortage of resource. That is one thing that there is not a shortage of. Um, Back in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
um, at the height of investment in capex projects in Africa, there was about $60 billion of investment throughout the continent. Um, Unfortunately, that has dropped to just over 20 billion dollars
Billion.
now,
Okay.
um, of projects that are being developed. However, what we have seen is that there has become a growing appetite with the major oil and gas companies to begin to explore some of the frontier markets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, along with Nigeria and Mozambique and Angola with proven resources, we've seen some huge discoveries recently in the likes of Namibia
Okay.
and South Africa. And these huge finds, particularly gas finds, has increased the appetite for drilling and exploration, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, this will have a trickle down effect and bring online some of the other stranded resources that have yet to be brought online within the continent, as well as more money, more infrastructure, and people are brought involved into these projects.
Wow. Recently we read in the papers, as in it was in the news, not just the papers now, about Total Energies, they divesting from the is it the onshore market in Africa. And somehow, but I mean, lots of people were like, what does that portend for the market in Africa? But from what you're saying now, it's like there's a reversal. Correct me if I'm wrong, because we're having some, I mean, form of, should I say, investment coming in their numbers.
What's been happening over the past couple of years is that the shareholders at the major oil and gas companies, they have been reluctant to invest in major capex projects in oil and gas because of the pressure on the ESG requirements. Okay, so
Hmm.
renewables have been at the forefront.
Yeah.
Now, as we talk about security in supply, as we talk about the price of oil going through the roof in the last 12 months or so, we can now see that there's a little more pragmatism with these companies, and that yes, there is going to be some more money diverted to those particular projects. And I think Total or TotalEnergies, as they're now called,
Yeah.
are an example of a company that is in fact putting some of their resource into drilling back in Nigeria now. Again, on the back of some major discoveries. So I think that there will be major investment across the continent in the short to medium term. And that is for sure. And let's hope this time it really delivers with those projects coming online.
Amazing. Guys, we've been discussing with Adrian, on this interesting aspect of the show with respect to energy scoop. And I mean, he's been giving us tons and tons of scoop about the energy market. You'll agree with me, it is insightful and impactful at the same time. Like I told you guys earlier, we'll be doing this like, with a, would I say, dedicated focus to the energy market. And Adrian will be our guide on this journey. So he won't do everything in one day because every day things will be unfolding. So what are we looking forward to, Adrian? Now, with all of this scenario you've painted, say the next 4 months, 5 months towards the end of the year, what are we expecting?
Well, if I had a crystal ball, I'd be putting my money into the right investments. But I think that the oil market in general is to see a sustained period of high prices. It's a bullish market. I think that you'll see more investment coming from the major oil companies in exploration and infrastructure. Hopefully, we will see a number of projects reaching final investment decisions across the continent of Africa for sure. And wait and see on some of the LNG projects moving into the likes of supply for Europe, because that's a key area as well to look at. So update you next time that we get to speak.
Wonderful. Yes, we heard it from Adrian. He's going to give us updates on that. And just to let you guys know, on the next episode of this as an energy scoop, we're going to be zooming into the Russia-Ukraine, uh, should I say, war, its impact on the energy market, and also its impact on the, global economy from the energy point of view. Now, before I let Adrian go, I mean, what would he tell us that he has not told us already? But let's hear him one more time about the energy market. What should we, or should I say, how should we prepare ourselves going forward?
Prepare for the unexpected. That's what I could say. Honestly, we need to embrace the mix of new energy sources, renewable, fossil. It all has a part to play. Just like everybody on this planet, if we work together, we can make sure that we have a lower carbon, sustainable, and also secure supply of energy in the future.
Whoa. The unexpected should be our expectation. That's the word, the unexpected.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, everybody, gird up your loins. The unexpected, just expected. So, we have an expectation now, more or less. Yes. And we have a guide that will take us through all of this. Guys, I just have to let Adrian go so that we get ready again for, another scoop. Thank you for being there. You know how we say it on the show. We come in to lean on one another, and get inspired to forge a path for the future, even for the energy future. Till we come your way again. Adrian, that word from you, one word from you.
Goodbye. See you again.
Goodbye, guys. Thank you. Bye for now.